Welcome to Fire and Life Talk, transforming a world one heart at a time. Hello and welcome to another episode of Fire and Life Talk. I am your host, Pastor Gary, and I'd just like to welcome you to this fabulous episode that we have coming up today. Our special guest is Joshua Goldsmith of Goldsmith Financial, and we're going to talk finances today. We're going to talk wealth, retirement, insurance, and whatever else wealth of knowledge Josh want to talk about. We are going to touch on it and dive in today. But before we get to that, I want to encourage you, whatever platform that you're watching on, we would love for you to chime in, to comment, ask Josh questions, and just be a part of the show. So we're going to get right to it. I want to welcome my lovely friend and beautiful wife, and according to Proverbs 18 and 22, my good thing. Come to the platform. Hey, Pastor Gina,
Hey.
how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited about the show today. I'm kind of rushing into things because there's some questions we want to get to and learn about our finances today and how to prepare for our future. No matter what age you are, there's all type of programs, and we're going to let Josh get into that. So again, we just like to welcome our viewers from all over the world. You will definitely learn something today.
Yes.
If you just well, I ain't gonna say open your ears and listen, but to really tune in. So I want to welcome to the platform Joshua Goldsmith of Goldsmith Financial.
Hi there.
Josh, how you doing?
Hello, and thank you for having me. And I want to say a quick shout out to my wife, Jocelyn, my niece, my step niece, Logan, my sister-in-law, Mireille, and my mother-in-law, Maurice, sending love up to Tahoe. They're in Tahoe right now.
A wise man. You covered everyone. Maybe I should get that in there, Gina.
Yes, you should.
My good thing. And, well, a lot of the ones Josh mentioned on our side, they're not here anymore. But hey, we'll find somebody. All right, Josh, welcome again.
They're all in Tahoe. It's poker and beer here, you know.
Josh, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show. You've been on the show before, and we had great reviews and great questions, responses, all of that. But we asked you to come back on today. And we'd love to have you on throughout the year, if possible. I know things are going really well for you. But for our viewers that haven't seen the other show or don't know about Goldsmith Financial, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and more about what you do?
Sure. I'm a Midwestern guy. Moved out here when I was 20 from Michigan. So go Lions, go Tigers. No Bears. I started my business, my first walk in finance back in 2006 when I started out working for Edward Jones. Wonderful company, wonderful stepping stone. But I took the training wheels off in 2012 and established Goldsmith Financial. So worked for Goldsmith Financial And I started my business from scratch, Gary.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So going door to door, getting to know people, local people in the community, joining social clubs, kind of just building it, building it and building it, building it. So I've been in the business now for 18 years.
Wow.
So it's numbering up, and I love what I do. I became a certified financial planner back in April. So it was
Congratulations. Congratulations.
thank you very much. And so what that means is became a fiduciary. And so now the difference between just somebody with a Series 7 and a life insurance license and a 66, and those are a lot of numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the security license is the Series 7, so that enables you to sell individual stocks, individual bonds. The Series 66 is helps you deal with. It's like a state law exam. It helps you deal with high net worth individuals, so it qualifies me to do that. And then the life insurance, obviously, that's self-explanatory. That's one piece of the pie that has to be gotten. And then now the certified financial planning that has education, examination, experience, and ethics. So it's a nonprofit board that, after me completing all their rigorous requirements, they now allow me to hold myself out and use the letters.
I think that's great. As a customer or client, I think we can really appreciate the wealth of education and knowledge and the testing that career field requires, and that starting from ground zero, and to continue to progress. I think that's great. And I know your clients appreciate that, and your future clients would appreciate that, and we have to throw in Goldsmith Financial, just like it is over his head. Get on the website. We're going to start promoting early, Josh.
Okay.
Get on the website, check it out. And because we all can study and acquire, a certified financial planner to learn how we can have our money work for us. And I know that's a big aspect. And like you mentioned, that insurance is just one component. There's a lot of pieces of the puzzle to it. But I tell you what, Josh, tell us, how can someone get started?
Someone needs to, they have a heart to get started and to help them plan for their future.
Yes.
Right? This is a field where somebody's got to make the decision that I'm going to make my life better at another time, right? At a future date, but they've got to take the steps now to do it. So how do they get started? They've got to start saving. Make the decision that they're going to start saving. If they don't know how to do that, that's where my position comes in. You call an advisor, call an advisor to help them take the first step. But you got to take the first step, and like with any organization,
anything,
anything. You take the first step. You start saving for yourself. You're 35 years old. You don't have anything set up because, we feel infallible when we're young, Gary.
Yes. Yes.
And we're never going to die. We're never going to get older. We're never going, our body's going to work just as well. But that's not the case. And if we don't take that first step to start planning, we only have so many heartbeats. We only have so much time here on planet Earth, and you want to make your life later. You want to, at least I do. Right? I want to make my life a little better later. So what we do today is we save, we plan, and we go to we work with people that we trust and like, and that's that. At the end of the day, that's the truth. So how do you get started? You start saving. You don't know how to start saving, you call somebody.
Okay.
Yeah. And I know there's different types of programs. Like, so take a step by step, so to speak. Hey, Josh, I want to start, I understand if we start saving, then where do we go from there? You sitting in front of the client and you say, okay, here's some options, or what's your goals, right? Yeah. So
well,
yeah.
As a fiduciary, right? So it is up to me to understand. So one of the things that people think out there, by the way, if they talk to someone like me, they have to have millions of dollars. Not true.
There we go. Okay.
I don't have a minimum to work with somebody. Someone wants to come to me and they say, I've got $5,000. I don't know what to do. What are we going to do with this? We're going to start them off on the right track. It doesn't take a lot for me to set them in motion. So I'm a motion man. Set somebody in motion in a certain direction, and it's up to them to save. It's up to them to use the resources to plow through. So I'm I can help them to do that. But one of the things that I do for a very small portion, right, percentage. So maybe we're talking 1.5% of an annualized. So on $5,000 portfolio, we're talking $50 a year. So I'm not making a whole lot of money. And that's okay because I'm setting them in motion. They're not taking a lot of my time either. It doesn't take a lot for me to help someone in that direction.
Okay.
So I understand where they're at. I've got to identify their needs.
Okay.
All right. So I'm helping them understand where they're at too, because people don't necessarily know where they're at. They need a reality check, and I don't hold back. I promise you that. Identify the need. I share what they need. I develop a plan for their future. How we're going to an actionable plan. I present the plan to them and monitor the results of that plan and help them to monitor and understand how they're doing compared to the markets overall.
Yes.
So what if I was going to say, okay. So what if you're young? How old should you start planning? And if it's just a little bit that you need, do you think about the future as far as having kids or?
Yes. How old do you say? How old do there? You can start planning when you're as young as out of college. You got your first job,
right?
So I mean, 18. So some parents want their kids to. I find when parents push their kids to do something, they kind of go in the other direction. Right? So they might want to just leave something where they can see it, and then they ask questions about it, make it think like at least it came from them. You start as young as possible. What was the second part of your question, Gina?
Well, I was asking, like, if you're planning, what kind of information do we need to have to, prepare? Like, am I going to, like, I decide I'm going to have children later, or what kind of information do you need to help us plan?
So the whole family is part of the financial plan. So let's say the husband comes to me and says, I've got an old 401k and I'm coming to you to roll it over into an IRA, and because I don't know much about investing, and it's not a one transaction deal, right? I need to know about his family. I need to know about his 3-year-old twins. And then his 16-year-old daughter. I need to know that he doesn't have any life insurance. I need to know that his wife doesn't have any health insurance. Whatever the case is, I need to know that his cousins, may be dying of cancer. All of these things have an impact on somebody's life, and therefore has an impact on how they plan for their future. And so it has an impact on how I invest for them, because the closer we get to a goal, the more conservative the portfolios should become.
Okay, that's good.
So and it makes sense. I mean, the reason being, if you're 65 years old, we don't have that much more time to ruminate the investments. And so the money is much more meaningful, because if the market were to decline 20% and stay there for 5 years, it has a much higher impact on that 65-year-old than it would on my 45-year-old who has 25 years until retirement. And so that 25 years, they can just, I'll ride it out, and it's likely the market will come back.
Right.
It always has, right?
Yeah, I love that you emphasize that, each person has to have a tailored plan.
Yes.
And that is so important. I love that we're going to encourage the young people to start as soon as they can. And you also mentioned, if we're up ladder in age, that it's not too late.
Yes.
It's not too late. We can invest, and we can invest. And obviously, the more money that somebody has, the more diversified we can make them. Well, the more different types of investments, the more we can potentially take risk. It just depends on people's goals, right? We identify that what is important to you. And I have this right on my website, goldsmithfinancial.net. It's like, what my number one priority is to find out what is important to you. That helps me establish what the most appropriate investments are for my clients' needs. If I don't know what's important to my clients, it's important that they have a trip fund. It's important that they go on vacation once a year. It's important that they, when they get older, they want to stay in their home forever. Even if I have a stroke and a heart attack, well, guess what? Long-term care is coming into play.
Right.
They want to, move every 5 years. They're trying to buy a bunch of real estate. Well, guess what? I mean, if the money is for, less than 1 year, you have a need for it, shouldn't be invested. You've got the money there now. Why risk losing what you have, you can obtain today?
Yeah.
And so I'm a risk. Another hat that you people, I call myself a risk mitigator. I help people to understand risk and to take the least amount of risk for the most amount of money.
Yes.
to get the most amount of money, right? I mean, if you can get 10% by investing in investment A, and you can get 10% by investing in investment B, but B, it has more risk. Okay. Everyone 100% wants A, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, but there are investments that like that. And that's why, it's important to speak with a financial advisor when investing, because, I mean, why take unnecessary risk?
Right. Okay. And that's important too, Josh, to know that there is a risk, but this is why financial planners, certified financial planners are in place, because you have learned how to take the money and work for us and take the less risk, because we know, bottom line, life happens.
Yes.
Life happens, whether it's a natural disaster, whether you unfortunately become ill, children pop up, not all children are planned, and whatever the case may be. But I guess the point that I'm trying to get across, that there's planning, there's programs for everything that will take that fear away.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about retirement, I had a question here that had came up. How often should someone revisit their retirement savings plan to adjust for life changes and economic shifts?
Those are two very different things.
Okay.
Life changes and economic shifts. And so we should identify that, number one. Life changes, anytime there is a major life change, you need to visit the portfolio. I moved in with my boyfriend, portfolio. My husband passed away, portfolio.
I got you.
I'm moving to another country, portfolio.
Okay.
Because, but if none of those things change, divorce, portfolio, right? By the way, divorce, you get cut in half. Right? Divorce, you lose your portfolio.
It's a 50% deductible, right? Depending on what state you're in.
Exactly. But no, when you have life changes, you adjust. And then the other one was, what was the other half of the question there?
Let's see what they wrote. The economic.
Okay, so for the economy, generally, because I'm a fundamental investor, a buy and hold type there, day trading is not really, my types of the portfolios that I set up over the long term will get about between 8 to 12%. Okay. So the market did, 25, 27% over the last 12 months. Do I have clients that have over 20% returns? Yes.
Wow.
But at the same time, I expect it to come back to the mean over the long term because of the types of portfolios that we invest in. Economic adjustment to do things like react to COVID, because COVID hit and the market went boom.
Yeah.
Had I adjusted portfolios to be more conservative, the cat was already out of the bag by the time anyone could get to the markets, right? So markets are already tumbling. You're going to ride this out, Mr. Jones,
right,
Mr. Jones, because at Goldsmith Financial we buy quality investments.
Okay.
Diversify those investments.
Okay.
And we buy and hold. And that is an all-weather formula where I could take you through pandemics, and I have, recessions, and I have. Number one, I built my business. I started it just before 2008, 2009, the housing crisis, the financial crisis, where, we thought this was it. The government's bailing out, all these banks, and the banks took the money and gave it to their employees for vacations, and then they claim they didn't have. They're still going under. The government had to bail us out twice because they stole the money the first time.
Yeah.
So this brings me to the very poignant fact of understanding that you need to trust the person, trust and like, right? I mean, the person that you're going to work with to handle your 401k rollover, to handle your life insurance needs, to handle your long-term care needs, to handle your financial house. And it should be obvious, but I'm saying it because some people think it's just cold and calculated, and who can give me the best proposals, and who like anything else, it's coming from the gut, it's coming from your heart, and it's coming from your mind. And I think you align those things in your life, in finance as well, you're gonna continue to have a balanced life.
Yeah, I think, Josh, there's a lot of comments and some questions coming in that we want to get to. I know Certified Planners Insights are so valuable. And yes, everything you said today is so valuable. I know one of the contractors, here's a regular viewer that comes on your approach to retirement, planning during tough times, exactly what we need. So, I mean, what you're just a little part that you've been talking about, Josh, but what I'm taking away from it is the relationship with your certified financial planner is key.
Yes.
And a lot of times back in the past, I know we attempted just decades ago, but it was so rigid and we didn't understand anything. It brought up walls and fears, and we just backed off.
Mm-hmm.
But now
that brings up a very important component, right? In sales, right? I mean, did you feel like you were being sold?
Yes.
That is a very real possibility too, right? Somebody trying to sell you something, whereas that's why identifying needs are so important,
right?
For yourself and for the advisor to establish what do you need, and an advisor will understand what you need more in finance more than you will. So you may go into an advisor saying, I've got this 401k I really need to roll over, not understanding that you're giving up certain rights by having the 401k in the company plan, certain safeguards with ERISA by having it in the 401k plan, so that a good advisor will give you those options. Say, not just take the rollover from you because it's going to make money. Well, the difference between that and a fiduciary like myself is that I'm going to tell you what you're giving up by rolling that over, and let you make the decision and help you to make the decision, and say, by the way, your biggest need, Mr. Jones, is not this 401k rollover. It's the fact that you have 2 3-year-olds and a 16-year-old and a big mortgage and no life insurance.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
It just depends. Everybody's in a different situation.
That's right.
And so, everyone's going to get a different type of, advice.
Yeah. We got to take a commercial break, but before we go, answer this question for us, Josh, and for our viewers. What are some of the tools you use to calculate or you recommend for estimating the retirement savings?
Tools I use for estimated, well, there's eMoney. I have software that I use that I put all of the components into, and it spits out any kind of report you can think of, balance sheets, profit and loss statements, cash flow reports. Easy. It's easy. It's like people charge a lot of money. I don't even charge my clients for that. It's because it's ancillary. It's just, what we focus on. Generally, you want to think of retirement and saving like this. Like, if you have $100,000, how much can you make from that $100,000 every year and still expect reasonably that $100,000 will grow?
Right.
So the number typically in conservative finance is 4%. Some advisors say 5%. If you can do as much as 6%. If you don't like your family and you want to spend down your savings, you can withdraw 10%,
Yeah.
But leave any legacy. But let's just look at the middle. Let's look at 5%.
Yeah.
$5,000 a year from 100,000. That's 50,000 from $1 million. That's 100,000 from 2 million. So how much do we need to retire if we want to make, a couple 100,000 in retirement? Do the math.
You see, and numbers don't lie. And I know one of the things, I was talking to a friend of ours, and it's like, those numbers seem low, these percentages, because you have to realize the atmosphere we live in, especially here in America, is right now. We want the big returns right now. But if you're gaining 5% a quarter or year or whatever, those things add up. And then my understanding and my little experience that I have, you can take that and move it. And this is where you come in, because you're overseeing all of this. You know what the economy is doing. How to move things around, when, again, like we said, when life happens. And this is why it's so important to have a certified financial planner, correct?
To build, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. All weather portfolios where that can stand
all weather. I like that.
Can stand drops, normal 10% drops in the market. I mean, these they're called corrections, right? 10% pullback from an all-time high is a correction. 20% is a bear market. That means the market's going down. The bull market means the market's going up.
Right.
These are all normal functions of the market, and I expect another downturn. There will be another bear market. Are you in the investment vehicles today that will last you till after the next bear market? Meaning, do you own quality? Remember, buy quality is my number one pillar.
Yes.
Diversify those investments, because if Elon Musk comes up with some kind of company scam and Tesla drops 35% in a day, you don't want to be decimated.
Yeah.
Diversify and buy and hold through those hard times, because you will be rewarded when you own good quality investments. The same type of philosophy Warren Buffett imposed. In fact, he had a big impact on me reading his book Snowball, which I highly recommend. It's a great book by Warren Buffett. I think it's like more than 1,000 pages. It's longer than the Bible, right? It's just it's so long.
Okay.
It may be the form of the Bible of finances.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. he is a guru for sure, but
Yeah,
he's a value investor. So like, yesterday's dogs are tomorrow's, winners. It's kind of deal.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to take a commercial. And Josh, we appreciate you being here. And just like Patrick coming in and said, thank you. But we're going to take a commercial break. Don't forget to share, to like, to subscribe. And we're coming back with much, much more from Joshua Goldsmith. Stay tuned.
From one man he made every nation of men, that they should inhabit the whole earth, and he determined the times set for them, and the exact places where they should live. God did this so that men would seek him, and perhaps reach out for him, and find him, though he is not far from each one of us. For in him we live and move and have our being. Now go, be strong and courageous. Lead the people on their way, so they may enter and possess the land as I have shown you. Watch over them willingly, not grudgingly, not for what you will get out of it, but because you're eager to serve God. Don't lord it over the people, but lead them by your own good example. Make every effort to do what leads to peace and mutual edification. And do not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time you will reap a harvest if you do not give up. Those who are wise will shine as bright as the sky, and those who lead many to righteousness will shine like the stars forever. Remember, if God has given you leadership ability, take the responsibility seriously.
Welcome back to Fire and Life Talk. I am your host, Pastor Gary. I got a co-host, Pastor Gina, my good thing, and our special guest today, Joshua Goldsmith of Goldsmith Financial. That's right. We got the man himself on the platform.
Thank you.
So we just thank you for tuning in. That first segment, we talked about, about so many things, but I know the takeaway that I got is you have to get into the game, so to speak. We have to make up our mind to get started. Josh shared how he'll take on clients that you can start with a little. You don't need $1 million to start. You don't need $100,000 to start. But I'm pretty sure, Josh, you know how to handle those hundreds and those millions as well. But the main thing is we have to get started. I know a lot of times, Josh, like in this environment, inflation, and we don't know which way to go. I guess what I'm trying to get across is there's programs and plans for every situation, but we have to make up our mind to get into the game.
Yeah. One of the things that I think hinder people from starting a plan, since you mentioned starting a plan, a big thing is debt. Okay. And I'm sure as soon as I said that word, everybody out there kind of, cringed a little bit. It's so... Today, it's so popular. It's so in vogue. Let's keep up with the Joneses. Let's have a credit card. Let's get a credit card, and I'll pay it off every month. And they're justifying that that's okay. And then if you ask them within, a year or two, they start carrying a little balance on that credit card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, those big Visa buildings in New York City, you think they were built on donations?
No.
No.
No. They're built off of that person justifying carrying that credit card in their wallet.
Yeah.
And I think it's like $1.9 trillion in credit card debt. I mean,
Wow.
we could solve the homeless problem. People stop using their debt. You've got to come to terms with yourself on where you're at.
Yeah.
Understand most people are living beyond their means.
Right.
I, as a financial planner, want my clients to live below their means.
Right.
So that they can have an effective and successful retirement years, later years. Now, I say retirement, it's kind of like what is retirement, right? I mean, I could say I'm retired. I just go retire. Like what is retirement?
Yeah,
it's not
personal. Yeah,
it's not just being old and sitting in a rocking chair and watering your azaleas or something like that. It's actually understanding that there's a plan for your life after your current career, what are you going to do? Because if you don't have a plan, guess what? A lot of people will, they die. You got to be doing something. You got to be keeping busy. So retirement is kind of I don't really like the word that much because you kind of have a misnomer on what it means and what you're going to do in retirement. So anyway, I'm losing track where I'm at, right? I just turned 50. I'm having a senior moment. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I tell you what, even if you're having that moment, you got some backup. From Mimi L. It said, back at you. Shout out to Josh from all of us at Lake Tahoe.
That's my sister-in-law. Hi, Mimi. Love you.
That was great, and that was right on time. That was right on time. I think, Dina, you had a question.
Yes. Are there any common myths about risks that often mislead investors?
Comments?
Common myths.
Oh, common myths about risk that mislead investors. Yes. When I'm young, I thought that you had, we're going to invest in the stock market, individual stocks. We're going to make a lot of money. You don't have to get 30% a year to have a successful. Retirement or goals. It's not just retirement. I do, right? I help people establish goals and attain those goals. A young couple, they want to buy a house before they retire. How are they going to buy a house? So they can work with a financial professional, save the money in the right type of allocations, and sensibly, reasonably, methodically attain that goal by not taking risks that, I hope that Elon Musk doesn't make these comments today to drive the stock down 15%.
Right. Yeah.
By the way, I used to trade options, and one day Elon Musk did make a comment. The stock dropped 10%. What do you think that did to my call option?
Oh my goodness!
Decimated it by 50%. I almost sued the guy. I sent them a warning letter. I have no qualms about whoever you are out there, doing the right things. If you're a CEO of a company, you need to act accordingly.
Be responsible.
Be responsible, people. And so the as far as the risk goes, Gina, if you plan to make let's say we have less than a year, is 5% is what you can expect, because that's the no risk money market accounts currently paying around 5%. It's a variable money market account, but I mean, if you have $100,000 and you just need 5,000 to from this chunk of money guaranteed, I mean that's pretty easy to do nowadays. So but risk is, I'm a mitigator. So I take, the common myths are that you have to be lucky, and you have to pick the right stocks, and you have to, do this, that, or the other. It's not the case. You expect between 8 and 12% a year for your long-term goals. And the stock, the S&P 500, which is 500 stocks that are supposed to represent the United States economy.
Right.
And they're voted on by a board, in and out. So they'll remove a stock if it's underperforming, and they'll put one in that is performing. They'll replace it, and it's a weighted index. That is what people are referring to when they say the market. That has performed 10% over the last 100 years.
Wow.
Now, if you time it wrong, if you buy it at an all-time high, and the market, and it's just before a recession, you could put your chunk of money in and not see an increase for years. But over the long term, there have been very few 5-year rolling periods where the market has lost money in the last 50 years.
Wow.
So you got 3 to 5 years. You shouldn't be as concerned about where the market is, or the economy is, or the state of politics, or we've had this before. We've had wars before. We've had bad politicians before.
Yes.
We've had pandemics before. We've had everything. So everything that's going to happen is new, but in just different clothing. It's a different wolf in sheep's clothing. So
okay.
Yeah,
that's good.
By the way, Wolf of Wall Street, I highly recommend the movie. It's a great movie of what our industry has evolved from.
Okay. You mentioned that, and I guess it's this free publicity on whatever level we're on, but I like to watch American Greed, and they just had a show about one of the financiers of Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's really interesting.
Well, you bring up a good point. Is that a lot of from that show was taken from greed, right? But investor greed. If investors didn't accept the getting 12% guaranteed was a normal thing. They wouldn't have empowered some of these power brokers to take their money and steal their money, end up stealing their money.
Yeah.
You've got to approach the market in a reasonable, down-to-earth way with normal expectations, meaning we can expect between 8 and 12% if we take risk. If I want a guaranteed return, it's around 4%, 5%.
Okay.
That's it. There's nothing magical or hidden or some secret Pandora that I don't open a box and here it is, 25% a year. Yeah. There you go. You've got to approach it reasonably and just know that there are no free lunches out there.
Right. And it's about building. It's about establishing and building, your wealth and what you're giving. I know there's a scripture. I always like to look them up before I mess it up. I like to look it up before I mess it up. Yeah. And Proverbs 13:22 says, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. Okay. And of course, we can put that in content and look at it as money, leave our grandchildren, make sure that they're established, they're wealthy. But also what you're saying, like, okay, we may be up in age. We may not be able to establish a plan or program that will leave that much to them. But what you're giving is wealth. The information on how to pass that down, if we're up in age again and we're not able to make that happen, but just getting financial literacy is handing down wealth. Because I know in certain communities, like our community, we wasn't taught that at a young age. It's something we had to learn as young adults or whatever, and then seek out the information, and things change.
It's always shocking that they don't have a how to manage your finance class in high school. In fact, I'm working, we've been talking to, remember J.C. Cooley, right? And he goes to the high schools and talks there about, different subjects. And we're talking about putting something together to go to the local high schools to do that. But as far as leaving a legacy, the legacy is important also for people to feel human, right?
Yeah.
And feel like they lived. I want to leave a legacy. I want to have a kid. I want to leave $100 million, or I want to leave $50,000, whatever it is. You want to feel human. It makes you feel more alive to know that you've set a plan in motion, that when you're no longer here, people may say your name again.
Yes.
People may think of you.
Like
we want to be remembered, hopefully fondly, right?
Yeah.
We want to be remembered fondly, and that's where estate planning comes in. And estate planning is so important because when you have worked hard your whole life and you've built these investments and you've bought property and you own real estate, where is that all going? If you don't have a plan for it, the state has a plan. They're going to tax and so they're going to tax, you can't just give something to somebody without the state having their fingers in it, because there is a tax when you die to hand over your assets if they're not in a joint account, if they're not in a trust account, if there's no beneficiary designated on your retirement accounts. Make sure all of these things are done. Set up your estate plan. Talk to an estate planning attorney. I work with several of them. I have referrals for several of them.
Okay.
I do not set up estate plans, but I recognize them. That's part of the CFP certification, where I was able to study estate planning. And so that was definitely a subject, taxes, estate planning, insurance services, investments, fundamentals, all of these things. I studied books this thick and, for years to become certified for that certification. It wasn't just a Mickey Mouse certification. It's the gold standard in certifications in my industry. And I love it. I love the fact that I'm done with it.
Well, we know right now in the long run that it pays off. You mentioned trust. Can you briefly tell us the different types of trust and how they work?
Sure.
Because that's a big buzzword in today's.
I mean, I'm not an estate planning attorney, right? So I don't set these up. I do know about them, but I mean, you've got the two major trusts, and I'll just talk about those because we don't have that much time, is a revocable trust and an irrevocable trust. So when you set up a living trust, it's actually considered a living entity. So you set up the trust, and let's say it's called Pastor Gary and Gina revocable trust. That means that the two of you agree to set something up, put your assets in the trust by just listing them, or considering a trust account at a bank. You can call it the Pastor Gary and Gina revocable trust. And so you put your investments in. Now, sometime in the future, when mortality comes and God calls you back to heaven, let's say Gary goes first because women typically live longer. I'm picking on you, Gary, but it's just the truth. And now Gina becomes the trustee. You're both trustees when you're alive, and then one passes away. Gina, you can set it up however you want, but typically this is how a husband and wife will set it up. Now Gina becomes the only trustee of the revocable trust. You could make changes to it. My son Billy was really nice, and my son, my daughter Jane, not so much. She got into drugs and alcohol. She needs a little help. Mm-hmm. So you can make adjustments according to how life pans out.
Okay.
And let's say they are the beneficiaries. Now, Gina, you're getting old. Now you pass away. And what happens to the trust assets? Now the trust becomes irrevocable, because both the trustees and the grantors. The grantors are the people that set up the trust. You're also the trustees in charge of the trust, and you're also the grantors. Now you both are gone. what happens to the assets? The successor trustee takes over of the irrevocable trust. They're in charge of distributing the assets according to the trust. They cannot make any changes to the trust. So if you said that the blue shirt, that your lucky blue shirt, Gary, when you're playing poker, you're leaving to your son, it's going to your son. So you can't go to your daughter now. So, and even the successor trustee cannot change that. So that's the difference in a nutshell, what the difference between a revocable and an irrevocable trust are. There are all kinds of trusts. There are charitable remainder trusts. There are trusts like generation skipping trusts where you can.
If you don't like that generation, and Josh, thanks for just touching on that. Because again, when we have you on the show, we realize that we need 3 or 4 different shows to really dive into everything. But I really want to shift and let's talk insurance.
Yes.
Let's talk insurance. How many different types of insurance? And you can go as deep as you want to. Take the rest of the segment, if you feel led. But tell us about insurance, Josh.
I'm glad I'm not worth more dead than alive, number one.
Normally,
if you buy too much insurance, that'll happen, though. So life insurance is one piece of the pie, right?
Okay.
Financial planning think of it as a circle, and life insurance is one piece of the pie. It's an important piece. If any pieces of the pie are missing, now you've got a Pac-Man, you've got a deflated balloon, you have to address every piece of the pie.
Yeah.
And so it's so important. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the show, but as far as details go, there are really two main types of insurance. There's permanent insurance, and then there's term insurance.
Okay.
And both
Josh, can I interject just for a second?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When I just want to dispel this real quick before you get in so we get a better understanding. When we talk insurance, when I say, hey, Josh, tell us about insurance, we have to understand that insurance will work for us. It's just not to paying off burial expenses. No. It will work for us. So this is what Josh is talking about when he gets into it. And here, I'm getting ready to take some notes.
Well, you bring up a good point too, Gary. Is like some people just have their life insurance license, and they think that they're working for a proprietary company, and they think that they're doing their clients justice by selling life insurance retirement plans. You can do all kinds of fancy things with insurance, but the important point is to understand that it's just one component. It's not the cumulative answer. No one investment strategy is going to be the cumulative answer. And if you're putting all your money into a life insurance policy that you promised you've been promised the world, you've got to take a step back and understand that it may not be the right plan for you. Talk to a holistic advisor, someone like myself, where it's going to look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
So, for permanent insurance, that is a type of policy. Is life insurance, right? We're talking life insurance,
right?
That is going to be there when you pass away, as long as you pay the premiums. Okay, it's not going to expire. It's not going to go away. Typically, it's permanent policy that is designed to be there when you die. A very low percentage, by the way, of people pay their premiums all the way until they die. They typically as we get older, we get sick of paying things. And you get cranky old men, cranky old women looking at these policies, not seeing any benefit for them. And they just stop making payments, and then the policy goes away. Well, you threw away those premiums for your whole life. It's important to follow through with long-term planning, and a financial advisor can actually help you do that, because when you want to get out of something, you call your advisor and say, why am I still paying on this? And then I explain it to them again. Your grandkids, we're going to inherit this money. Oh yeah. Okay. It's part of the estate. typically permanent insurance is part of an estate plan. Permanent insurance is part of an estate plan that you can pass on because it's a tax-free benefit to your beneficiaries. Federal and state tax-free. Both permanent and term insurance are tax-free when they pay out a death benefit. Term insurance is just what it says. It's a term that you set. Let's say you buy 25-year term for $1 million. You can, it's designed to go away. So if you have a high risk of, let's say, income replacement, you need to replace your income for the next 25 years while you pay off your mortgage. Well, buy 25 years of term insurance. That way, if you pass away during that time, your family has money to pay off they're not going to be homeless. Right? Yeah. So, both types of insurance are important. Both have their place, but you have to recognize which one is most important for your unique situation. And a good agent. I'm a life insurance agent as well, right? So a good life insurance agent can identify that. And if a financial planner doesn't have his insurance license, you've got to question why, because it's such an important piece of that
component
pie.
of it. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, I didn't learn that till later in life, how actually life insurance can work for you, as an investment. We always thought about, well, we want to make sure we got enough to bury Uncle Bob, and make sure, he wanted to his rings to be buried with him, but that's not going to work for us. We're going to keep the rings, Uncle Bob, because the policy that you got, Uncle Bob, is not enough. So
we're going to melt it down and make a big class for him.
Make it work. Right now, that's a pine box, but they record the state requires more. So it's very important, not only as individuals, but coming together as a family and as a community. And when you look at a lot of the ultra rich families, that has gone for centuries, these are some of the plans and programs that they have used, like you were talking about the trust, handing it down. This is how they maintain the wealth and keep it in the family for generations to come.
Yeah, absolutely. And good estate planning hands inherited wealth down efficiently. It takes advantage of all the step ups that the IRS allows on property. So like when you own a property as a parent and you're giving it to your kids, a lot of parents think that they're so smart and they put their kids on the deed, and that's not smart because they're handing over the cost basis of that property. So if they bought that property for $50,000 and it's worth $1 million today, and then they put their kids on, well, guess what? When they pass away, the kid is still, got the $50,000 cost basis. If they leave it in their name or their trust name, and then they pass away and they leave their kid as the inherit, to inherit the house, then they get a stepped up cost basis. So, always consult a tax professional when talking taxes. I do have to say I don't give professional tax advice. I just know about the IRS guidelines. So, so when that person passes away and they leave that as their kids that through a trust, now the child can sell the house immediately. Let's say they sold the house for $1 million, and they're not going to have to pay taxes on it at all, because the new cost basis is on the date of death from the decedent. So that's just I hope I helped today. Financial planning in a nutshell here.
We've had so many people commenting saying great information, good information, and really appreciate it. Never thought about it that way. That's why we like having these type of shows, because it's so important. It's so important. A couple things I want to get in with you and Dr. Cooley, because Gina and I, part of our vision is to, in our schools, to start teaching the children about life, the things that they have to deal with when they get older, when they become adults. There's not a lot of education institutions teaching about life, and we're finding that a lot of students come out of high school and don't have a clue what a budget is, don't have a clue what taxes are, and how come this person is taking this money out of my check.
Or how to mail a letter.
Yeah.
How to mail a letter. They don't know how to mail a letter.
Yes.
Yeah. And still working on the email. I don't mean to be that condescending and all of that, but Josh, we want to thank you so much. We want to encourage our viewers to go to www.goldsmithfinancial.net. Get on the mailing list for the monthly newsletter. We read it every month, Josh. We really appreciate it. This is full of wealth information. And again, Josh, you can come back anytime you want to come back, and we're going to keep in touch because we need to know what to do at the end of the year and at the beginning of the year, which way to go with our finances. There's just so much there. And so, Josh, thanks again. Thanks for the family watching from Lake Tahoe. We like to thank the viewers for watching.
Hi, Josh, love you.
To subscribe, to like, to share, and we will see you again next week if the Lord said the same. Oh, man, it just goes by so fast. God bless. Bye-bye. Josh, stay on.
Okay.
Thank you for tuning in to Fire and Life Talk, where Jesus is Lord. If you would like more information, visit our website at fireandlife.org.